Kenny Pickett is coming off of one of his best games of the season, even if he didn't throw a touchdown. And now the big question is, does it continue? And how confident can you be in the young quarterback with a new offensive coordinator? What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackpine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're preparing for the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to get to that in a second about the significance of, well, an easy game. But last night, I'm hanging out at a family birthday party. An uncle comes up and he starts talking to me about the Pittsburgh Steelers. What he talks about is this sustainable? Should he be worried that the Pittsburgh Steelers are just going to revert back to who they were? This was just a spark in a pan, I guess. Shout out to Keith Butler. But is this sustainable? Is this something that they can grow from? Is Kenny Pickett finally the guy? And should you have any faith in the Steelers offense, knowing that they had one game against a backup quarterback and a beat-up defense with new offensive coordinators that nobody's ever seen before? Because eventually, like the Josh Dobbs experiment that I talked about the other day, everything comes to an end when you have no idea what that thing is. And once teams start to figure that out, it becomes a lot more difficult to beat teams and to make it look as exciting and to, truthfully, just make it work. And my answer was simple. I don't know if this lasts all season. I don't know what the answer is there. I don't know how much confidence anybody should have in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense right now, and I'll explain why. Kenny Pickett is still a question mark. I don't know how big of a question mark he is these days. I don't know if that question mark has shrunk since Matt Canada. What I do know is he's coming off of a good game. He looked a lot more confident. This is the first time all season, really in his entire career, that the Pittsburgh Steelers, from start to finish, were a good football team. Didn't have to be great. They were just good. Because prior to this, throughout his entire career, it was either one of two things. He wasn't showing up at all, or he was showing up in the fourth quarter, and on rare occasions, you'd have that gap. You'd have a really good first drive or a really good drive early in the first half, and then you'd have a lull, and then you'd have another good drive. And you'd just sit there in agony waiting for that final good drive. But this one didn't seem that way. He seemed fine. He seemed collected. He seemed confident. The offense as a whole never had that lull. There was never the moments where, oh man, this is it. This is going to be another antagonizing game. This is going to take forever. This is going to be dreadful. It's just going to be an angry 4 quarters, and then boom, the Steelers are going to try to pull this thing out. There was never any of those moments. It was the first time, and I said this earlier in the week, it was the first time that you looked at the Pittsburgh Steelers, you watched a Pittsburgh Steelers game, and you thought, yeah, they're probably going to win this from start to finish. You just felt that confident. And the reason behind that was, well, Kenny Pickett. He didn't look bad. He didn't look rattled. He didn't look like he wasn't built for this. He just looked like a typical quarterback who didn't throw an intercept, or he didn't throw a touchdown. That was really it. If you didn't look at the stat line and you just judged off of the game while ignoring the score or the precedent that the Steelers have set on, well, you have to score touchdowns now, I think you'd look at it and say, this was a good game by Kenny Pickett. It was a solid performance. It may be getting cool outside, but it's red hot on the field. So there's no better time than now to announce that today we've partnered with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL. And thanks to DraftKings, we're bringing you even closer to the action. Right now, new customers who bet $5 will get $150 in bonus bets instantly. You heard that right, instantly. But that's not all. If you're already a DraftKings customer, you get a no-sweat same-game parlay. Get a bonus bet back if your same-game parlay / same-game parlay X doesn't hit. Max reward limits do apply. And if you're a multi-sport bettor, no worries. DraftKings allows you to combine multiple bets for a shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers who use our promo code ALLSteelers and bet $5 will get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSteelers, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. So can it continue? That's the big question. I don't know how far it goes. What I do know is that the Pittsburgh Steelers have made this move in a very timely fashion. And while everybody was like, oh, you should have did it during the bye week, I don't think anything changes. Even if you do make a move at the bye week, we've talked about it. You're not going to change your entire offense. You're not going to make wholesale playbook changes during the 2-week gap that you have between the one game, the bye week, and your next game. It's just not going to happen. You would be in the same situation that you are in right now. And yeah, maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers would have won more games, but maybe they wouldn't. And maybe they'd still be sitting here at 7-4, and there wouldn't be much to complain about because they're 7-4, and that's a good record. They're a game off of first place in the AFC, not the AFC North, because that's the truth too, but the whole entire AFC number 1 seed. So waiting didn't really impact them much. And this is timely because the Pittsburgh Steelers beat Cincinnati. They look good. They build confidence. Kenny Pickett has maybe his most productive game of the season. And now they have 2 very easy opponents. And I know trap games are a thing. I know the Arizona Cardinals are not as easy as they look. And I know that the New England Patriots are still going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers tough because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots. I understand all of these things. But just in the grand scheme of your entire schedule, you look at every gap that you have, every streak of games that you're going to go through, making the change right now to build that confidence, I mean, it works out. Because if Kenny Pickett could light up the show against the Arizona Cardinals and at bare minimum have the same type of game that he had in Cincinnati and then do it again at home against New England, I mean, that's 3 wins in a row, 3 solid games with bare minimum built confidence. And confidence goes a long way in the NFL. And then you go into Indianapolis, a challenging game, but not a super challenging game. And you can see what you do against probably a tougher opponent, a playoff implication opponent. That's where you want to be if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the game plan right now. They believe in Kenny Pickett. They believe in Kenny Pickett's ability. They're not looking at this guy as, oh, he's not going to make it. He's not going to be the franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even if they have question marks, they're remaining very high on their first-round pick. And this is just about building that confidence in Kenny himself. This is allowing him to say, hey, shake off the Matt Canada rust, get rid of all the jitters and the nerves and every limitation that you mentally put on yourself while trying to protect somebody's job and probably save your own in a bad offense, and just grow that confidence. Be ready to be Kenny Pickett, the winner. Be ready to be Kenny Pickett, the guy that could lead the Pittsburgh Steelers, because after these 2 weeks, you're going to have to do that. And you're going to have to put the pedal to the metal, and try and win some games, some very, very important games. I think that's as big as it gets for Kenny Pickett, and that's the only answer that you could have right now. Is he going to make it? Who knows? We still have plenty of time before we sit around and say, let's kumbaya about how awesome Kenny Pickett is and how he saved the Pittsburgh Steelers and how all it took was firing Matt Canada. But for the next 2 weeks, just look to grow his confidence. Don't look for 30 points a game. That shouldn't be the milestone. That shouldn't be what the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, obviously it's what they're shooting for, but it's not what fans should hold their standard to. They should just look at it and say, in these next 2 games, how good can Kenny Pickett get? How confident can Kenny Pickett get? How just all around better in the perspective of deep balls, using the middle of the field, play action, connections with Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, and maybe getting other guys involved in too, and utilizing his legs as much as possible. How much can Kenny Pickett become Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, the guy that the Steelers drafted instead of the guy that Matt Canada tried to mold into an NFL quarterback? If he could do that in these next 2 games, I think your ceiling grows quite a bit. I don't know if you're a Super Bowl caliber team. I don't even know if you're going to make a run in the playoffs. That's too far away. What I do know is these next 2 games are all about setting yourself up for that potential. Give yourself that preseason hope once again, because right now it's just a teaser. It's just, okay, that looked good, but everybody is cautiously optimistic about moving forward. What's going to come, and is this going to last? I don't think you look farther than these next 2 games. You look at Arizona and you say, hey, just do it again and maybe grow a little bit. And then against New England, just grow a little bit more, get yourself ready for Indianapolis. And if Kenny Pickett is preseason Kenny, or even just Kenny Pickett his final year at Pitt, or who Kenny Pickett is as a football player outside of what he was in the Matt Canada offense, I mean, yeah, maybe Kenny could be the guy. I think that's a real possibility because I think Kenny is a winner, and we've talked about that so many times. The Steelers drafted Kenny because he's a winner. The offense he was in killed that winningness. It killed that, I don't know, that lion at the end of a game. I don't think that it's dead, but he's got to work on getting it back. And that's what these next 2 games are here to do.